Well, good morning from the Oklahomans Video Studio. I'm Dave Morris. Interesting topic ahead of us today. Good discussion to have here. I'm in the studio with Reverend John Foley, the founder of the Cristo Rey School Network. We're going to learn more about that, and Bill Price, he's chairman of the Feasibility Study, to see if such a school would work here in Oklahoma City. I believe I've set up this conversation roughly decently there. Gentlemen,
absolutely.
Thanks for joining us this morning.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Great to be here.
Father Foley, let's just start with the basics. What is the Cristo Rey School? What's the idea of that?
The Cristo Rey schools are an attempt to serve the underserved in education. It's a system of high schools that began 20 years ago, and we went into we began in Chicago, and we began in Chicago in the inner city, and that's because that's where we wanted to go. That's where we thought the need was greatest, and that's where those are the people that we wanted to attend to. So we begin our schools from the definition that they're private schools, therefore they don't get any state help except maybe in the states where there's vouchers and things like that, those helps, which are wonderful. But so we begin with the fact that education is very expensive. We're private schools, and how are we ever going to be able to keep the doors open when precisely our intention is to serve people who don't have the resources to pay for what we're providing? So
you've created a solution that has generated a problem. How are you going to pay for this?
Well, the problem already existed because those kids are there.
Yes.
Those kids are there. So, right. How are we going to do this? Well, somebody gave us the brilliant idea that they said, what if every student had a job? What if every student had a job that would produce income for the school, and therefore the student would be able to go to school there? So we thought that was a brilliant idea 20 years ago, and we still do. But we thought it was a brilliant idea because it was generating income for the school. And the students, of course, know all about this before they get into it. We're not robbing their salaries. They know that in exchange for their coming to our school, they are going to work 5 days a month. And it's turned out to be the thing that they most like about coming to our school. They love the idea of holding a job. These are all office jobs. These are all
some white-collar jobs.
Absolutely.
So
yes, that's right. They're entry-level white-collar jobs, and so the kids love the idea that they have a job. Somebody in the Chicago Public Schools told us the difference between you and us is when somebody doesn't do well in our school, they drop out. When they don't do well in your school, they get down to business because they really love the idea that they have a job. So this solution turned out to be just a blessing in disguise that we had no idea. We didn't realize the power that it was going to have on the young people's identity and self-image. They get excited. Can you imagine a school full of kids that are excited to be there? They're excited about going to school. They see a reason for going to school. And
well, I can see that would snowball in a good way. The teachers then are excited to go to the classrooms and teach because the teachers want to be there in the first place, but they want that engagement from the students.
Exactly.
And then the community benefits as the schools are doing well.
That's right. That's exactly right. The only thing that would prohibit a young person from going to our school would be, well, first of all, if we have a saying that if you can afford to come here, then you can't come, because we want it to be exclusively for kids, for young people who don't have an opportunity to go to a private college prep school. Our schools are all private college prep schools. They're all Catholic schools, but the schools are Catholic, but the 41% of our student body throughout the country are not Catholic.
Students don't have to necessarily be Catholic.
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
That's right.
Non-traditional.
Nor are we proselytizing, excuse me, nor are we trying to get them into the fold. I mean, that's not the idea.
If I understand this correctly, non-traditional structure, kids go to school basically 4 days a week and they work 1 day a week at a local business.
Exactly, a job that we have procured for them. So 4 students share one job. I'm not going to try to explain that visually because it's a little tricky, but it works. That's the important thing. It's the school is set up in such a way that 1/4 of the student body is absent every day. Now that's hard, especially.
Yeah, that's interesting too when you start doing the math.
Exactly. Well, it's hard when you're the basketball coach. But you know what? Things kind of fall into place because everybody understands that if we have a basketball game on Tuesday afternoon and our center works on Tuesdays, well, we have to find another center. And that kind of put things in perspective. I mean, our kids are they're grateful to play. They play their hearts out, and so it works. It works.
That's a real life example. Hey, you have a job. Go to work.
That's right.
You know, that is your responsibility. We're
exactly.
Talking with Father Foley. He's out of Chicago, and Bill Price. We'll get to Bill in just a second about how this could and will work in Oklahoma City. Father, it started in Chicago 20 years ago, and by the way, it's pretty cold in Chicago these days, right?
That's right. That's right. That's why I'm here in Oklahoma City.
Warming up down here in Oklahoma City.
Right.
Where did it expand to beyond Chicago?
Oh my gosh, we have 30 schools up and running right now. We are all over the United States. They're all within continental United States. We actually toyed with the idea of going to Canada, and we did a feasibility study to see if a school was feasible, and we decided that it wasn't feasible. It just because the state pays for all education in Canada, the way I understand it, and they didn't mesh. The ideas didn't mesh, right? So we have schools from San Francisco and Los Angeles, Portland, Oregon, to New York City, Harlem, Washington, D.C., Baltimore. We have 30 schools up and running, and so they're all over the country. And the mystery is that this thing just keeps growing, and companies continue to embrace the project and give our students a job. We do evaluations. I mean, the company does an evaluation of their workers. I think it's once a month, so they do it continually, and the kids are proud to know that they are fulfilling the expectations of the company they're working for. So it's in a way the companies have made an act of faith in us in our schools that we're going to send them
some decent kids who want to benefit them. I mean,
the whole thing is attitude, Dave. The whole thing is attitude, right? I mean, I guess 95% of it is attitude, because I guess you could be. I guess it's a possibility that you just don't get it how an office works. But when the student wants it, and the company wants it, it's just a beautiful combination.
Well, I would think when you have the school and the business behind you as that support network, that probably encourages them to work harder, because there's less of a chance of them going to fail. You know, if they give the effort, chances are they'll succeed.
Exactly. And as I said, they're excited about being there. They're excited about coming to school. All of a sudden, this thing is making sense to them. More sense than it makes to some of us, I suppose. But it's a wonderful thing. Because they're kids that are not in the mainstream. They're kids that are kind of left behind, and all of a sudden this door opens, and I can get excited about this whole idea. So I better take it easy, because it's
infectious.
Mr. Price, Cristo Rey in Oklahoma City. What are you seeing?
Well, we've started just about 4 or 5 months ago. We have an incredible committee of 50 or so people, volunteers in all areas of the community. We have a fundraising committee that raised a considerable amount of funds. We have a jobs committee that is going out to businesses throughout Oklahoma City and getting commitments for those slots for those kids. And to tell you the truth, we've never been turned down. So it is incredibly popular idea. It serves a need. We're having a community survey committee that's going out to everything from different churches in the minority communities and festivals and such, and finding out from both community leaders and from parents of 7th graders, because this would start in 2017. Are they interested? And again, we're getting a phenomenal response from parents and from community leaders. We've had this tremendous support from the Archdiocese, from Archbishop Coakley. I think we're called a feasibility study, but it's looking awfully feasible right now.
And that was my next question. Those are very interesting responses you've seen from the community. Is it feasible, and what's the timeline? You're saying, yeah, we're getting good response, and perhaps as soon as next year, as it turns out.
Yes, and you know, the magic of this, as Father Foley has said, is that it has 100% college acceptance throughout the country. Some college accepts every one of our students. The businesses, 93% of the businesses think the students that come and do that entry-level job are as good or better than a entry-level employee that they could hire. So it's not even charity on their part, it is good business. And they're able to mentor these kids, they get involved in their lives. Quite often they're hired by the company after they finish college to come back, and it is a pathway for a sizable percentage of the underserved population to be integrated into the business community.
Gentlemen, I'll throw this out to both of you. Cristo Rey, is this a bricks and mortar school? Is it a charter school or a virtual school? And if so, bricks and mortar, where might in Oklahoma City, in the local area, might this be?
It's going to be bricks and mortar.
Okay.
And we're reviewing, we have a site selection committee that's gone to a whole bunch of different locations. Other Catholic grade schools that have closed, or other sites that are big box locations or whatever, and they're going to make some recommendations, and our committee is going to look at it. And we may have a temporary solution where we, for a couple of years, we're at a certain location, and then we'll build out to more complete it. But one thing too, the kids make it to school, and somehow they do. You hear from all the charters or private schools, somehow the parents recognize how important this is, and they carpool or they do something, get their kids to school. But the school is responsible for transporting the kids to the job, to and from the job, and to train them. If the business needs Excel or whatever, to train them on that, train them on the soft skills of how to act in a business environment. And those are all so important.
Father Foley, you've gained a lot of national recognition. Forbes, Wall Street Journal have looked at your network. How did you approach these businesses, and how did this gain such national notoriety?
It's a mystery. I got it. For openers, it's your confusion is mine too. But people just, we like to call it, this is a win-win-win situation. Everybody wins. There's no losers in this deal. The businesses like it because their employees are proud of the company. The employees follow the kids. Often it's a supervisor that is most responsible for the success of the program, because they're proud of the student. They come to the school and watch them watch a soccer game and cheer their student, their worker on when it's not a work day. But obviously the school wins because the school exists, and well, the city wins because kids are getting educated. The work program, we wanted to cover 60 to 70% of the operating costs of the school. And we have 30 schools. They're not all up to par yet, but they're all working towards that goal. Five of them, I think, are past 60%. They're bringing in 60% of the, so before the doors even open, it's a private school, and they've paid for 60% of their operating costs. In other words, with the contracts. So this year, in our 30 schools across the country, the kids are going to earn a little bit over $50 million just this year, to pay for their own education.
Wow! So
this is a big deal. It's a big deal. Yeah. So it's a concept that none of us. We got the idea from somebody who was just a bold thinker. We got the idea from him, and he thought it was a way to pay the bills. We thought it was a way to pay the bills, and it is, but it's infinitely more than that. So we're very excited about a whole new educational concept. So our schools have, obviously they're schools, but they are also temporary employment agencies. So we've brought business concepts into the schools, which private Catholic schools haven't had for many years.
Well, and it sounds like when you approach a city such as Oklahoma City, and you talk to gentlemen such as Mr. Price here, here's a business model. Here's how it works. Exactly. In the other 30 schools, here's how it could work here.
Right, that's exactly right.
And public policy in Oklahoma has played an important role. One of the reasons why Cristo Rey viewed Oklahoma City as a likely place is we've got a great tax credit scholarship plan bill in Oklahoma that allows people to contribute and companies to contribute, and that money can be used for scholarships for kids to help take up that 40% that's missing. There is a reasonable likelihood that education savings accounts may be passed in the legislature. That would be a huge boon to this kind of educational opportunity. So those public policies of choice in education have been part of the reason why opportunities like this are going to exist.
One last quick question for you gentlemen, I'll get you out of here. I know you have a meeting upstairs. There was a meeting last night that you guys attended. We took this on a Thursday morning, last night, Wednesday night. Where was that? How'd it go?
It was great. It was like a friend-raising meeting. we got together to tell people what Cristo Rey was all about.
Gotcha.
And to introduce the concept and to get people worked up about it and give more. These schools exist because people like Bill get excited about the idea.
And how was the reception last night?
I think fabulous.
The Archbishop was there?
Father Foley has a way of inspiring and making people excited. So, and they were already a very dedicated group of people that were there. So I think they're walking out of that room really dedicated to get this done.
Very good, gentlemen. I appreciate your time this morning. Father Foley, Mr. Bill Price. Our Carly Hinton, religion editor with the Oklahoman, will have more on this topic in upcoming editions of the Oklahoman and on newsok.com. Gentlemen, best of luck moving forward and safe travels to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dave.